first off, huge congratulations. I watched all 8 episodes and just fell in love with it. It's so
Yes.
beautifully
Yay.
done. Just huge congrats.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. I appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, Benito, this is your baby, your
Yeah.
creation. First and foremost, thank you for sharing it with us. I'm curious what you learned or discovered about Benny and your intentions with the series by the end of filming from its original conception.
Wow. Oh my God, she's bringing out the big guns. Let's go. I think I learned that I had judged myself so much for not coming out sooner. And I think through doing it, I was like, oh God, everyone has their reasons. And I think it's every person in this story has their reasons. And I think that was always my goal, is that I think that overcompensating is like maybe one of the only things that really unites everyone, is because it's even from like the biggest of rejections to like the smallest of comments that someone will say that stick with people and make them feel like they're not enough. And I definitely had all those voices in my head. And I was myself one of those voices of just being like, you should have come out sooner. Like, you've missed out on your life. And instead, I think in making the show, I was like, no, I've lived the life that I was supposed to. And I feel so fortunate that I was able to tell this story. It was so hard at times, I think, to find a balance of like, whoa, this is like emotionally kind of insane. Like the scene with Connie on my bed in the 7th episode, that was one of those days where I was like, whoa, I was so nervous to do it. And then I'm sitting there with Connie, and I was just like, if any queer person or really anyone can watch this scene and feel like this moment where, your parent is starting to understand who you are as an adult or as a real person. I feel so lucky. And by the end, I think I knew it would emotionally impact me, but now looking at it, I just feel like so unbelievably grateful. And I really am also I'm really proud of myself. I think I really trusted my intuition through all of it, and who I wanted to bring into this. And that's probably what I'm most proud of, that I get to share this with these people that I'm like absolutely in love with and think are so brilliant. And I cannot like be more grateful that I was able to have this vessel that gets to show off such unbelievable like talent. Like, it's crazy.
Oh my gosh, that was so beautifully said. Thank you for sharing all of that. And you truly have created such a gift for all of us. And I think whether you're in college or you're whatever age you are, we always continue to grow and need those people in our lives who see us for who we truly are. And I don't think that ever kind of ends. And it was just a beautiful reminder so much for me. Wally, you've been working as a comedian and a writer since you were 16, which is wild, and working on so many incredible shows that have beautifully intertwined like this one does. So much humor with so much heart. As you were stepping into Carmen's shoes and in front of the camera, how did your experience as a writer and producer kind of influence or inspire your approach to playing her?
Oh my gosh. I felt what was interesting acting for the first time on this specific show is that Carmen plays so many emotional beats and dramatic beats. And I was so fortunate with the scenes with you where we got to play a lot of chemistry and also emotional beats and dramatic beats for sure. But there was a lot that I couldn't prepare for, I think, and that I was able to prepare for with, I worked with a really great acting coach, Rebecca Kitt, but I was able, and I think I was only able to do this because of your like creative generosity and trust, but I was able to improv quite a bit and play. And also I think, it was helpful that I was very much in the room for, writing Carmen in our writer's room. And so I was able to bring all of our experiences talking about the character to the character. But it was definitely, I was calling upon faculties that I had never used and inventing and finding new ones. Like we were really, there's a lot of learning.
Yeah. Oh my God. Absolutely feel that.
Thank you.
And I think I love hearing that about how it was such a labor of love and such a creative collaboration. And I think the more and more we hear about all of that happening off screen. It just makes sense when something is just so, you can feel it on screen. You can feel that extra layer of love, and safety and trust. Truly. I want to talk about the tone too, because oh my gosh, it's so refreshing and new, but also so nostalgic. There's something about like seeing James Van Der Beek and hearing My Chemical Romance that like took me back to like my youth. But then I know that my 17-year-old niece will also feel seen and just fall in love with it. Can you talk about sort of mixing the nostalgia with the with a modern feel?
Oh my God. Thank you so much for saying that.
Yeah.
That was hard to do, I think, but it was something in who we chose for the writer's room and who we brought on for all of this. You know, Daniel Longino's the director of the pilot, and he is so brilliant. And I remember we had this talk where I was kind of referencing a few things, and then I was like, I think the dorm room should kind of look like mine. Maybe, you know, we can pull from that. And he was like, do you have the photo? And I was like, yes, I have the photo. And he's like, that's what it should be. We should just do it. And he's like, because then, and I was like, oh yeah. Then everyone watching is going to go, oh yeah, that's what dorms look like. So I think it was a mix of that. And then I think, you know, we wanted to make this world that I think, you know, feels like some of the classics I grew up with, where you can't necessarily pin the exact year it is, so that, yeah, anyone can access it, because it's not just a college show. I think this story feels like this idea of overcompensating is like through your entire life. But I wanted to create almost this like warm, nostalgic feeling that you get. And I'm so happy to hear you say that about the songs. These are the songs that I think like shaped me and changed my life. And also I was listening to while I was thinking of scenes and writing it. Like, I think it just tapped immediately back into this college, you know, these experiences I had in college. So yeah, I think we wanted to create a world that felt like anyone could access it, and definitely, you know, have a wink to An American Pie, a Freaks and Geeks. And I think it's so brilliant what Sex Education has done, where it just, you can't necessarily pinpoint the year. And that feels kind of nice. It's more of like a dream world, and it feels like in your memory. And for you to like, you know, have some of those things that you see and you're like, oh my God, I wore that. Like, I remember I had a comment that I was so happy about, where someone was like, Carmen's green Zara butterfly top is so imprinted on my, they're like with a bandage skirt. And I'm like, that to me is so, that's joy. I'm like, now we can laugh at it. And that these things, you know, so as something as simple as like a what you wear to go out outfit, you know, can be so, you know, at times as an actor, you look in the mirror and you're like, what the fuck have I done to myself or to the people I love around me? But we wanted to create that world. And so thank you for saying that.
And it transports people to the time in which they were having the same emotional experiences as the characters. So it's like so evocative, I think, and creatively helpful.
Yeah.
It's so true. Like, I think that's what kind of like took my breath away a little bit. I wasn't expecting to like feel so nostalgic and like have a good cry and really give my younger self a big hug and like go resurface all that stuff. And it was just, again, such a gift. Y'all are amazing. Just thank you so much for your time, and just huge congrats, celebrating and, you know, everything. So thank you.
It's so, this is so sweet. Thank you so much.
Huge congrats on this series. I've watched all 8 episodes and I loved it so much.
Hell yeah.
God, it beautifully mixes just humor and heart. I wasn't expecting to cry as much as I did. And huge congrats.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
No doubt audiences will see themselves in the series and in your characters. So I'd love to start off by asking, kind of a big one, but how did you all first fall in love with storytelling, or rather its power to create empathy, to connect?
Wow.
That's a big one.
For me, it was through theatre. Absolutely adore theatre. I'm not cinephile as much as a couple of other, you know, friends of mine, but theatre definitely am. And that for me was just the way in which I connected with storytelling and acting. And even when I was really young, I used to just do it in schools or with my cousins and put on these plays. And I used to reenact scenes I'd seen in films. So for me, that was like my early outlet, and now I feel really...
I'm not sure which message you're trying to send.
I'm so sorry.
Rish's British phone is talking to us.
I have an Irish accent on that.
Like, imagine if you're in the theater.
Yeah, and that would be really rude. So yeah, I need to learn theatre etiquette. But yeah, that was it for me. Definitely theatre early on, and I feel grateful now. I get to tell stories that matter through this outlet on screen, and hopefully reach wide audiences, and have an impact in that way. It's a privilege.
Lovely.
For me, I think even as a young kid, I had a lot of trouble sleeping. Like I would just keep my parents up all night because I didn't want to sleep. So they would put on Nick at Night for me, and I got to watch I Love Lucy, which is obviously like from, a different era, and it's very physical comedy and so loud and so funny. And I just remember I would like roll around laughing watching the show, and it would bring me like so much comfort and peace. And comedy was such a currency in my family because I'm the youngest of 6, so you really had to stand out to get attention. And so we would come together to watch movies, and we loved Chris Farley movies and Christopher Guest and these really big comedies, Airplane, Monty Python. So that brought us together as a family. And even though we have such a wide range of ages, it was like we could all really like rally around these things being funny. So I think it's, just like a desperate need for attention was where I fell in love with storytelling. What about you?
Mine was definitely in the movie theater, not necessarily where the thespians lie, but like I
It is though.
One of my oldest like memories, and it's one of those memories where I don't know if it's real or not. But I have a memory of my dad had me for a weekend, one of those backstories. And I think he took me to see the movie Shark Tale. And then we saw it, we left the theater, and then we went back in again and saw it. Like, we saw it twice, and it just always stuck out to me. Like, that was a way for us to kind of have this shared experience that, like, took us into an entirely different world. And in my brain, I remember it as, like, an empty parking lot. No one else was there. It was just me and my dad. And, like, I think that's, like, my earliest memory of, like, falling in love with the movie theater. And, like, I think that's kind of why I entered, like, this world, was just to give that to some other father-son.
That's amazing.
It's very deep, Corteon.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that. And like, this is why I love that question, because of such 3 different answers. Oh my gosh, Mary Beth, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up one of my like favorite scenes, not only in the series, but maybe in TV in a while, is Grace's incredible and cathartic karaoke moment.
Yeah.
I felt so deeply, like my little emo heart was just bursting.
Thank you.
Can you talk about, kind of the struggle to let her little emo heart shine, and playing with this dichotomy of who she thinks she needs to be and who she truly is throughout the series?
Yeah, I think what the show does so well is you really start to learn as the episodes go on about what each character's overcompensation is. So for Grace, it's the fact that she didn't get attention from her parents, and her brother was a golden boy. And so in high school, she was part of the counterculture. And you really get to see that when you see the inside of her room. And one of my favorite Easter eggs is a fake band that Benny came up with. There's a poster in her room for a band called Piss Ant, which is just like so brilliant to me. I think about it all the time. And so, yeah, I think for her to just be, she didn't ever feel like she really had the space to be herself. And her room is tiny and it feels very like closed in. And so when she gets to college and she starts getting approval and validation from this like campus legend archetype, she really leans into that, and she dyes her hair blonde, and she starts dressing differently, and she distances herself from the people that really see her for who she is, like Mimi. And so for the karaoke scene, which I was terrified to do, and I had to do it in the audition as well. And so I asked them, I was like, can I do voice lessons? And they were like, no, we want it to be bad. We like how you did it in the audition. So I was like, perfect. And then when I got there that day, they didn't have the right karaoke track. So I actually have an AirPod in with tape on it, and I was singing to silence. So all of the supporting actors in that day got to see that raw. And it was, I mean, Benny, I've said this so many times, he really challenges me and pushes me as a performer. And as someone that grew up loving like Paramore and My Chemical Romance and Fall Out Boy, which is like such a part of my personality that really only the people who knew me in high school would even know about. It was really fun to be able to bring that to life and have that moment for Grace, but also for the audience. And that whole episode is so revealing of her backstory and why she has chosen where she is in her life currently. So it was a really, really beautiful experience. And I hope they never release the footage without the backing track, is one thing I would say. Because she really got to go wild, and you see her so tightly wound the whole show and composed. And then I think it's a really nice payoff, as terrifying as it was.
You crushed it.
Yeah, seriously.
I hadn't watched it with sound. I can't. I'm too scared.
It's so good. Like I said, it just like, it really gifted me with like a big moment of reflection. I mean, I quote it like saves the day in my high school yearbook, and like it just
Absolutely. Warped Tour. Did you ever go to Warped Tour?
never did. I just like, oh, I missed
huge
out.
for me.
I wanted to go, but like, I don't know. Rish and Corteon, I want to know what did you originally latch on the page with your characters, and what's something that perhaps you discovered about them during the filming process as you were working together on this beautiful kind of ensemble piece?
I mean, yeah. For me, I think what I initially latched onto was kind of just like, the idea that, look, when I signed on to play Gabe, in my brain it was like, okay, I'm just gonna play this frat bro, and I'm gonna, say some jokes here and there, whatever. But then as we kind of got deeper into the filming, like to the process of it, I really understood what Gabe and F&G and that whole world represented, and what it had to do in order to kind of push Benny to where he needed to go, and push the rest of the characters to where they ultimately arrive at. And it was really it was surprising to kind of, because you see these kind of character types like throughout all forms of media, and a lot of the times they're very one note, and they're very almost kind of useless. Like there's not necessarily a point to them besides like having like a beer can crush on a head. But in this there's really a reason for Gabe being there. There's really a reason for the toxic kind of friendship that he has with Peter. Everything kind of means something. And I remember just like halfway through shooting, I kind of looked around. I was like, holy shit! Like we created this world, and Gabe has become this real person. And on the page, it was so funny, it was so sharp, but it was so scary to me to make him real. And once we realized that we kind of accomplished that, I was like, oh, this is really it was a surprise, and I'm really lucky and glad that it went the way that it did.
100%. And just to add on to that, like for me, it was the opposite side of that same coin, but the opportunity to break down the dichotomy of like toxic masculinity that sadly a lot of people have grown up in, and I'd definitely grown up in, where derogatory terms are just thrown around either unknowingly or just flippantly. But that's something that I definitely had experienced in my kind of realm when I was younger, sadly. And now to be part of a story which matters, and I think Scott King, our showrunner, had put it perfectly in the table read, where he said, if everyone could have a best friend like Benny, that would just make the world a lot brighter. And it just holds so true. And I remember saying to Benny at the end, like, he's just such a gentleman, and he earns and garners respect in all righteous ways. And God, I just wish all men could be like that, and for the opportunity of like us showing just the irony of these worlds, and just how much better it could be is fantastic for me. And I hold that really dearly to my heart, to be able to be a part of that.
Oh my gosh, so beautifully said. Thank you guys. I could talk about this for hours and hours because it's so delightfully complex and meaty. So thank you so much, and congratulations again.
Thank
you.
Good to meet you.
Big congratulations. I devoured this. I watched all 8 episodes. I loved it so much. Just huge congratulations.
Thank you so much. That's so nice.
I think this show is going to go down as having one of the most incredible ensemble casts, between all your performances and the iconic, cameos. It's so rich. And what originally drew you to your characters on the page? And then what's something that perhaps you discovered through the filming process? Whoever would like to start.
Well, it's funny because I actually originally auditioned for Carmen, which is a type of character that I would be asked to tape for more, sort of someone unsure of herself or maybe like gooby or awkward. And then from that tape, they sent me Haley to do. And I was so excited when I got it because I was like, oh, I never get to tape for girls like this. And so it drew me to the page because first off, the script was really, really good and the writing was really funny. But also I was like, this will be so exciting to be able to play a part that's so different from me and so high femme. And then I think through doing all of it, Haley kind of taught me, I think Haley taught me that you can like have a million different passions at once. And that as long as you know yourself and you're true to yourself, it doesn't really matter what parts of you everyone else knows, if that makes sense.
Totally.
Mm-hmm. Oh gosh, that's so funny. Haley you're so funny. I mean, she is like
Thank you.
an incredible character. What you bring to her it's truly magical, and like the ride that she goes on and just the heightened emotions, and it was just wonderful. Yeah.
That means so much. Thank you so much.
I also auditioned for Carmen, and then I auditioned for Haley. And then
You would have killed either.
thanks, girl. And then later my audition came for Emily, and my audition scene was my intimate scene with Benny. And I decided to just really do something crazy. And I filmed it like laying on the ground, and I had my friend read it with me, and I improv'd a lot of meowing and purring and all of the above. And yeah, I think I got the job, and all of the executives and everyone else came up to me and they were like, we loved your tape. And I was like,
really don't push
I
it.
was like, please stop telling me that all of these people have seen this. And yeah, and that just sort of opened the doors for me. I feel like I got to be funny and to improv and to work closely with people that give you freedom to do what you want in a way that I hadn't before. And it's a different space for me, the comedy space, and getting to be with people that I respect so much and have them compliment me is a huge confidence boost. So it's only been fun and amazing.
Oh, that's lovely. Oh my gosh, amazing. What about you, Owen?
I know Benny from a few years ago. I joke with people and say I'm a Nepo friend and just make my friends put me in their projects.
But it's not true. He's very talented.
Well, that's very nice. But
But he's also well connected.
no, Benny sent me the script and I was like instantly in love with it. And I was like, I need to be in this. I would have played a tiny barista character that has no lines. Like I would have just to be on screen with Benny. He is so magnetic and his mind works in ways that I can't even compute. Like he is so brilliant. So to be asked to play George was such a great honor. And through him, I kind of found that it's weird to play like a 20-year-old who is so settled in himself and so quietly confident. I kind of swing the opposite way. Like when I'm confident, I'm yelling at the top of my lungs. So it was really nice to find that quiet, reserved confidence. It was really like fun to play.
As a fellow screamer, I was really, really
Totally.
so amazed because you really can you'd say one word and I'd be blown away.
Mm-hmm.
That's very nice.
You'd say 20 words and I was also blown away.
Thank you. I don't say one word often. It's hard for me.
No, and neither do I in real life, which was why George was so inspiring to me, to meet a gay character that actually just says one thing, but it's powerful.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know that
They
person.
exist, but there's so many loud gays around them. We forget
Totally,
sometimes.
Yeah.
totally, yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was so beautiful. And like you have such a powerful line delivery toward the end of the season, which I'm not going to spoil, but I think you know the one I'm talking about, where you sort of, the way that you deliver it in kind of almost a whisper in a sense, but at the same time, it carried so much weight. And it was loud in its softness. And yeah, that was beautiful. And I think too, it's like, it brought me back to college, and you sort of, when you're meeting people, everyone is sort of at a different stage in their life, oddly. Some people are more settled into themselves, and some people are just beginning to go on this journey of self-discovery. And how that kind of never ends as an adult. You know, we meet people at all different stages of their life, and it was very reflective for me, and through all your gorgeous performances.
Well, I think that was hopefully the point of the show. So it's amazing that you felt that way. Benny would love to hear that.
1000%. Yeah, it's really, they did such a good job of taking care of all of us and letting us create these in-depth characters. Like when you're not on it, like just the set really let us play, and the scripts were so good. And I don't know, I think lots of times on the coastal cities, it feels more like coming out, that's so simple, where it's like, I grew up mostly in Nebraska, and it really genuinely is a huge, 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 scary thing for a lot of people still today. And I hope this show lets people laugh while they also know that they can be themselves.
Oh my gosh, and it will 100%. And speaking about that, because like no doubt this series will make audiences feel seen and be able to have conversations, I think, with themselves and others, and spark those conversations. I'd love to know, this is sort of a big one also, but when did everyone kind of first fall in love with storytelling, or rather its power to create empathy, to educate, to connect?
Such a beautiful question. You want to go?
I would say my dad always, he was an actor, but also he teaches acting as well. And I would go to the studio that he taught acting at in New York and see plays and whatnot when I was young. And I was also just a very lonely kid, and I made movies all the time, mostly with my dogs as the characters. And like, I didn't have too many friends, and I found a comfort in that. So I think from a young age, I understood that, and it also just came very easily to me. And as I got older and more sort of sure of myself, I became more confident in that being what I wanted to do. But I think movies and TV are just one of the most incredible art forms, because to me, I mean, I do get lonely, and I can watch a movie and put something on and feel like I'm with people, and feel so whole in a way. And I think that this show is a great way of having something where people can identify with it so easily, whatever their, you know, sexuality is, or gender, or race, or, you know, so yeah.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. Lovely.
I, from a young age, have always gravitated towards ensemble casts. So like, I loved all of Christopher Guest's movies, Mighty Wind, Best in Show. I remember watching SCTV growing up. So I kind of fell in love with the ensemble nature, and like when somebody would break or somebody would stumble a line, there was always that other person to catch them. And so I think I just found like friendship and connection in that, watching kind of people hold each other in this space. And then I did theater, and that actually became true. And then everything felt like every production felt like a family. And then I did theater camp, and now this, where it's just like the best ensembles are coming together, and you feel so supported and able to be free enough to improv or be yourself. So I think that's when I really figured out that this art form is a form of connection.
Yeah. I think that there are so many things that I could reference from growing up, but the main thing I'd say is that storytelling, whether it's just listening to someone else talk, or also through movies, or I'm a huge documentary person. I love a documentary. I think it's just really helpful to have empathy for people that you maybe aren't around all of the time, or that you don't know what other people are going through. And so I've always found it to be extremely helpful in reminding people of their empathy. And I think a story like this, I just feel really, really happy at a time like right now that gay people can feel seen, and then also maybe straight people who don't know what it feels like to be trapped with something that feels like a secret that shouldn't have to be a secret. I hope that it can give them empathy to see that this person just wants to be themselves. Gay people just want to be themselves. They're not trying to mess with you. They just want to be themselves. Are you laughing at me?
No, I think it's beautiful.
No, 100%. Well, thank you so much. That's my time, but just y'all should be so proud of this series and your performances. So thank you for taking the time with me today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.